right, and welcome to another episode of Butler's Babble. And it's been a while, but we're back. And just a reminder, everybody, if you've missed any previous episodes or you haven't, there's a couple that you want to hear again, then be sure to go to butlersbabble.com. You can get all the episodes on there. It also takes you to a link where you can go to YouTube or to Spotify if you can watch it on YouTube. Or you can go to Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, wherever you listen to an audio podcast, whether it's in your car, in your headphones, and you can listen to them on there because we've had a lot of many amazing people on our show as guests, and you don't want to miss any of them. And today is no change to that. We have an amazing young lady that's going to come on here with you to tell you about her life struggles that she's gone through. And for most people, they've gone through traumas and stuff over their lifetime, maybe once or twice, like major traumas that's changed their lives a bit. Sometimes you go through your whole life without something like that. But this young lady actually has gone through many of them, all within about a year and a half time span. So we're going to get into that. She's also the author of Ashes, Grace, and the Woman I Became, A Guide to Healing from Trauma to Grief. You can get this on Amazon. I think you can get it from her website, but she'll go on more about that. And so let's bring her on. We have Jackie Lee Agnew on with us. Jackie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, thank you. As soon as I saw, because I know your daughter-in-law, I believe it is, and well, two of them, and
My sister-in-law.
or
Yes.
sister-in-law, sorry, two of your
Yes.
sister-in-laws, and they one of them had posted something about you, and I saw it, and I'm like, she would be a great guest for this show because what you went through and how you've been able to come through on the other side, I think is a testament to who you are as a person, and hopefully this can help other people that's gone through even some of this, if not all of these kind of things. So I thank you for being on here. So to get started, why don't we get people to know who you are? Give us a little background about Jackie growing up and who you were, where you grew up, that kind of a thing, family life.
Sure. So, my name's Jackie Lee Agnew, like John said, and I grew up in a little town called Kemptville, Ontario, just outside of Ottawa. It was a government town. Um, my mom worked for the government, and my dad was a body man. He fixed cars and did that kind of thing. I have three brothers, and when we were growing up, we spent most of our time outside, snowmobiling, playing with dirt bikes. And with three brothers, I was more like a boy than a girl. I was always running around and getting into trouble sometimes and doing that kind of thing. I loved high school. I had a lot of friends, and yeah, we did a lot of things together. And then I ended up working at the Kempville College and met my first husband, and we moved to Golden Lake, and that brought me up here to Renfrew County. And we had two children, but we split up after 13 years. There was a lot of things that happened, and we're still friends. We just didn't want to be married to each other anymore.
And that happens. I mean, we see that
Yeah,
with a lot
it
of people. Yeah.
does. Yeah. So I became a single mom. And in 2004, I decided at 40 to put myself back through school again. And I became a social service worker. And I got hired on by the school board. And it was the best decision of my life. I loved the kids. I loved working, especially with grade 7 and 8 kids. A lot of people don't like that age, but I loved it. And yeah, and then I met Steve, and he was a local celebrity. And when someone said, this guy in a red truck would be driving by me and he'd wave all the time. And I thought, oh, he's kind of cute. And then one of my friends told me who he was, and I'm like, oh God, I don't want to date a guy in a band. Forget that. Anyhow, we met. We all went out to see him one night and we met, and that was history. 20 years later, we were still together and married, and yeah, blended our families. So we had Andrew, Bree, and Emily. Andrew and Bree were my kids, and Emily was his, and we blended our family together, and it worked out great. It was just awesome.
So you're
Yeah,
basically like a Valley version of the Brady Bunch almost,
exactly. That
mixing the
was
two
it.
families
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Some
And
of the
I
younger
remember
generation won't remember who the Brady Bunch is. So
Yeah, I know. I remember friends coming over to our house like after supper and seeing us sitting at the table playing Monopoly and things. And they're like, "You guys are really like a TV family." I'm like, "Yeah, kind of, sort of, sometimes."
Definitely. Now, going back a little bit, you said in 2004 you went back to school to get
Yeah.
your social service worker degree. Um,
Uh-huh.
but before that, what did you do for a job before that?
So I waitressed, I cleaned houses,
Okay.
I was making like $8 an hour as a single mom, and it just wasn't cutting it. You know
So
what
not
I
really a
mean?
career. You were just doing whatever jobs
No,
were
I was
available.
just doing whatever I could. Yeah. And I loved waitressing. I thought it was great and the tips were good and I was good at it, but it wasn't something I wanted to do forever, and I wanted to show my kids that you could be better.
Hmm.
So I would sit down at the table and do my homework with them, and Steve was so supportive when I went back to school. He was like, "Yeah, do it. Like, it's
That's
great."
awesome.
And I went to Algonquin College in Pembroke, and yeah, I got my diploma and got hired. I was the only one in my class who was left with graduated with 3 job offers.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm hoping
Yeah.
that happens with my daughter because my youngest daughter, she's 18 right now, and she's actually about a couple months away from graduating from Algonquin College in Pembroke, also for the early childhood
Okay.
education course. So
Yeah.
I know the school
Yeah.
very well. I do a lot of volunteering with that school. So,
Yeah.
and actually, that's
So,
where I met personally one of our past guests, Elizabeth Manley, because she was doing speaking
oh
engagement
wow.
there, and that's how I met
Yeah.
her. And I said, "Hey, I need you on my show." So she came on our show too. So Algonquin College is a good place for me.
It is for me too. It changed my life.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. And
Yeah.
so then moving on forward, then so you and Steve together 20 years. You get married, or maybe
Yeah.
not? Yeah, you got married.
Yeah, we
Okay.
got married in 2006. Um, and Steve worked at a local lumber mill in Eganville.
Okay.
And then he just got started working for Wade Contracting, a big contracting company up by Petawawa. And then he decided he got laid off because it was slow one winter, and he decided to go out on his own and just start doing some little jobs. And Agnew Renovations grew out of that.
Okay.
And yeah, it was took off, and we ended up at the end. We had 5 employees, and yeah, it was great. We loved it. I did all the book work plus worked full time, but it was okay. I kept up.
No, I know. Like here in my business here, I run a photography business, and my wife helps out here too, and she does the bookkeeping
Yeah.
for us along with our accountant and stuff like that. So
Yeah, exactly.
I like to
Yeah.
be the creative one. Let her deal with the numbers. I make the money, her and the kids spend it. So
Yeah, exactly. Send me to IKEA and I'm in my happy place.
exactly. So then things are going really well. You guys are having a great
Hmm.
life together. It's from 2006 on, and then you get into 10 years later or so, and that's when a lot of stuff starts
Yeah.
going
So in
awry, I guess.
2018, it really started. We had our first house fire.
Okay.
And I say that first because we ended up having 2 house fires. But
Okay.
the first house fire, we had an old Victorian home and we had just finished renovating it. We had put like $16,000 into it, new windows, new siding, the works. And one night I was sitting in my living room and I said to Steve, "I smell something burning." And he checked everything. He said, "Jackie, I don't see anything." It was a Sunday night. And that Wednesday, it was like minus 35 with the wind chill. And I was on my way home from work and I got a call that my house was on fire.
Ooh.
And yeah, and I got there, and sure enough, our house was completely destroyed, along with it melted the siding on the house beside us, and it burnt the house down next to us, and it affected some of the houses on our street. And that was hard in a small town, and your house was the one that started it. It was hard. Apparently, it was mice chewing on the wires. Sometimes
Yeah,
when you do renovations in those old houses, you stir up things, and
definitely.
yeah, and that's what happened. So
And
yeah,
I can almost feel what you're talking about because for some people
exactly.
here don't won't know this, but about month and a half ago, we had a house
Yeah.
fire myself, and it started in the garage, and they still to this
Yes.
day don't know what caused it. It could be an
Yeah.
electrical, it could be anything. We don't
Hmm.
know, and it's a scary time. I know what she's feeling. Like we lost everything, so
Yes.
I know what that feeling is like when you're in
Yeah.
a small town. And like you said, the house next to you, I guess it melted the siding. You said.
Yeah.
That happened with ours. The guy had just sold the house not too long before,
Oh,
and when this fire happened, 2 months later is when the other people were supposed to take over this house. So the insurance companies are
yeah.
going with each other to get that fixed because it's not our fault. We don't have to
Yeah,
pay for the
exactly.
insurances, but
Yeah,
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. How the siding melted and that. So it's a scary thing. So
it is. It's very, one day you have everything, the next day you have nothing.
exactly. So
Yeah.
how did you
And
rebuild
then,
from then?
so Steve actually rebuilt our house. My
Okay.
son's an architectural technologist and he designed our new home. And it was absolutely beautiful. We had great big high ceilings. It was all open concept. Upstairs, the only thing upstairs was our bedroom and a bathroom. And downstairs we had two bedrooms downstairs and a beautiful bathroom, kitchen, living room, and a sunroom that was absolutely beautiful. I just loved it.
Mhm.
I couldn't believe it. And then in move forward to 2003, and my father-in-law Danny, he lived with us for a while and then he moved in with his girlfriend Teresa, and he died from cancer,
Okay.
throat cancer. And then my stepdaughter Emily, who struggled with addictions, she passed away, and she was pregnant with our unborn grandchild, and she passed away at 27, um, in June 30th. So June's a hard month for me
Yes.
because my dad's not here, my father-in-law's not here, and Emily's not here. And in January 2004, my dad passed away from cancer. And then in August of 2024, um, we were at our trailer at Smith's Bay campsite, and it was the week before school was supposed to go back, a week or two before school was supposed to go back. And Steve said to me, "Why don't you stay home tonight instead of coming and having the guys wake you up in the morning? And I'll go home and get up with the guys in the morning, and you could stay here and rest because you only have a week left of your holidays." So I said, "Oh, okay, sure." you know, and he went home, and that's the last time I ever saw him.
Okay.
Um, I got the call in the morning that our house was on fire, and that they, and I said, "Oh my God, Steve's not here." And then the officer said again, "Well, your house is on fire, and do you know where he'd be?" And I said, "Oh, you're lying." I said, "This can't happen. Our house already burnt." And I hung up on the police officer.
Mm,
And he called back and he said, "No, I'm not. This is real. Your house is on fire." And I said, "Well, my husband was there." And it was about 6 hours later that they called me and said that they'd found him. And
okay.
yeah,
So the father-in-law
yeah,
passed away in what year was that?
2003.
2003. And Emily was the same year.
Yeah,
And then your father passed away in 2004.
yeah,
And
in
then
January.
and then
Steve in August.
the fire with Steve was in what year was that? 2004 also.
2004.
Okay.
2024. Sorry.
24.
2023,
Okay, that's what
2024.
I was trying
Yeah.
to, because the way I was looking
Sorry.
at it, okay, that was like 20 years ago. So I was just
Yeah,
double
no, no,
checking.
no, no, no. This is
Okay,
just
good.
now.
So I have
Yeah.
it right now. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Okay, I was just trying to get
Yeah.
it all together myself. So,
Sorry.
no, that's fine. No, so 2018, you have a fire that burned your house down. You
Yes.
rebuild that house. Things are going well,
Hmm.
and then 2023, your father-in-law passes away of cancer.
Yes.
Now, was he struggling for a long time? Was this something you guys knew was coming on, or was it sudden?
No, he had had some trouble. He'd always said he had trouble swallowing, like he was having some issues swallowing and things, but the doctor didn't think it was anything to be concerned about. And then he went back one time and they decided to do an MRI, and that's when they found the cancer
Oh, okay.
in him. And he, after they found that, I think it was like 2 months and he was gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So was this
Yeah.
your first husband's dad or Steve's dad?
Steve's dad.
Okay, so your second
Yeah.
husband's dad. Okay.
Yeah.
And then few like 4 months later, something like that, your stepdaughter, Emily,
Yes.
you said she had been struggling for years with addiction. What kind of addiction was it?
Yes. Alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And we don't know what brought it on. Um, we don't know what happened to her. Like, she was the sweetest girl. She was a ringette superstar, leading scorer. She was an A student on the honor roll. And then one day she just changed. Something
Hmm.
happened. She went away to school in Toronto and came home a different person.
Okay. So how old was she when she passed?
27.
27. Okay. So this all mostly happened, I guess, in her late teens, early 20s after she went away to
Yes.
school.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we struggled with it for a long time because she lived mostly with us. And yeah, and then one day we'd had enough. The police were coming to our door every night. Like there was things happening, and finally we said we'd been going to families of Alcoholics Anonymous for family support, and they had said sometimes you just got to be tough and say, you can't do this anymore. You can't live here anymore unless you're going to follow the rules.
Enough's enough.
And we asked her to leave. And it was hard. I live with that guilt every day, knowing I asked her to leave and now she's not here.
Yeah, and I can see how that would. I mean, unfortunately, it's hard to explain to that it's not your fault. I mean, this was all brought
I
on by
know.
herself, and you were doing
Hmm.
what you thought was best to help her out. So I can
Yeah.
understand though, but where you're coming from, the struggle, because that's your child. I
Hmm.
mean,
Exactly.
you want to do everything you can to help them, but sometimes the best way to help them is to leave them alone and let them figure it out themselves.
Yeah. And I know she was an adult at that time, but to me, she'll always be a child.
Yeah.
Like she was part of my life since she was 7 years old. I
Hmm.
see her as that little girl
Do you
all the
think?
time.
Do you think it was maybe when she went to Toronto, the crowd she got involved with? Was it something to
I
do with
think
the
so.
school kids, or was it stuff away from school, or like what degree was she going for, or where was she going to
Um,
school?
she actually wanted to be something like the TV shows where they look into what causes death and what causes
Okay,
accidents and things like that.
yeah, forensic
Forensics.
sciences, yes.
Forensics. Yes, that's what she wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
She wanted to
So
be like a
yeah,
CSI type of person and go and
exactly.
figure it out with
Yeah.
no, and that's awesome. It's unfortunate that she got maybe into a bad crowd, or maybe there was just
Hmm.
something else that triggered. Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, and so when did she come back? Was it like 2021, or sorry, when she
She
was
didn't
21,
finish her
22?
degree.
She
She
didn't.
came back. Yeah, she came back. I think it was 2021 that
Okay.
she came back. And yeah, she was a totally different person. She
Oh,
just didn't care. And then she ended up meeting somebody wonderful. And he's still part of our family. We still hang out with Bobby and everything. But yeah, it just didn't help. Nothing helped her. Like she just didn't even at work. She worked at, the local Foodland store, and she was drinking at work. She was drinking at
mm,
home. It was constant. It never stopped.
yeah. And was she the type that wanted to go for help, or she just didn't think she had a problem?
Sometimes she did want to go for help,
Okay.
and she would, and that would work. Like Steve and I pulled money out of our savings to send her to a private addiction center because there was no room in any of the women's addiction centers for her.
Mm.
And that hurt too because 2 days, 3 days after she passed away, I heard a phone ringing, and it was actually her phone in a drawer, and it was an addiction center saying they had a spot for her.
Oh, geez.
But
I'm.
we had sent her to a private addiction center, and she just signed herself out. Like that's
Mm,
what she would do.
yeah.
And it just didn't work. Like nothing could help. I don't know.
And did she end up
Yeah.
passing from like medical conditions, or did she pass from accident, or?
I think they said it was a heart attack.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate, especially at a young
Hmm.
age like that with a whole life ahead of them. So
Exactly. Yeah.
no, definitely. And you would think that, okay, I've been through this fire. My father-in-law's passed
Hmm.
away. Now my stepdaughter, we've gone through all this. We've tried to help her. Now she's passed away. They say things come in threes. Well, there's my three. It's going to get better from now. But unfortunately
Yeah.
for you, it didn't get better.
It didn't get better. No, my mom gave me a call one day and said, your dad is in really bad shape. You
Mm,
need to come home and see him. And we put him he was in the general hospital in Ottawa, and he had kidney cancer.
okay.
And it had spread throughout his body. And he also had dementia. He had a little bit of dementia. It was just starting. And yeah, and we ended up putting him in hospice in Ottawa. And that is the, if you have a loved one suffering from, life-ending diseases, hospice is the place to be. My mother-in-law was in hospice in Renfrew, and now my dad was in hospice in Ottawa, and they are an amazing place.
Yeah,
The things that they do for you, the volunteers there, they are amazing, just
definitely.
wonderful people.
There's one
Yeah.
here. There's a smaller one here in the Pembroke Hospital, but I know the one in Renfrew
Hmm.
you're talking about, right there by
Yes.
the hospital. I've been in there. I've done photo shoots for them, and that very
Hmm.
awesome people, and
Yeah,
they do their best to make the person comfortable before it's their
exactly.
time, which I think is amazing. Like you said, they're
Yeah.
amazing people, and they do whatever they can.
They are. Yeah. And they help make that transition as easy for the family as it can be.
And that's the
You
thing too,
know,
because a lot of people don't realize it's not just the person that's passing, that's going through this, it's the family
hmm
too, and what they're
yeah,
going through and the grief that they're going through. And so they got to be empathy for that too.
yeah, exactly. And, I was always a daddy's girl, being the only girl in the family with three boys. And it was hard. It was really hard losing my dad, even though, he was 80 years old. He'd lived a good life, but it was very, very hard to see
No,
him go.
definitely. My wife and her dad were very close too. So when he
Hmm.
passed, it took a while. She's still like she says, you'll never get over it. You just learn to live
No.
with it. So,
Yeah.
and we'll talk more about that when we get to your book, of course, because
Yeah.
I want to comment on. I've read about half the book so far, and I'm very impressed with the way it's written in that. So we'll get to
Thank you.
that. So then your father's passed. You're already down as it is, and then of course
Hmm.
you get, like you said, you're out camping and he told you to stay there while I'm just going to go home and get some sleep.
Hmm.
And you get that phone call from the police.
Yeah.
And you don't believe it at first, but then you find that it really is true. What happens at that point? Do you just get in the car and just whip home or?
Steve's family came. I called Steve's brother Robbie, or he called me. I forget which one. One of us called the other. It's just kind of a blur right now. And anyhow, they said, "Stay where you are. We're coming to get you." So my brother-in-law, my sister-in-laws, both my brother-in-laws and my sister-in-laws showed up and got me. And I have to say, the Agnew family has pulled me in and held me closer than
Good.
I ever thought would be possible.
No, that's awesome.
um they've taken me, Lisa and Jenny are like my sisters.
Yeah. And I know
They're
Lisa and
they've
Jenny.
just held close.
Yeah. I know Lisa the most, of course, being
Yeah.
photographers now, and I've known her for a long time, and very good people, very good people.
Hmm. They are. And Robin, losing your husband, there's a lot of things that he did that I couldn't do. And
Mm.
Rob and Keith would be right there helping me. But yeah, we got that call. They came and got me. We went to Jenny's house and hung out there while we waited, for the fire department and whatever to call. But because Steve was a local celebrity and so well known, there was people trying to take pictures over the fence. They
Mm.
were, posting things on Facebook that were horrible. There was like so many things. It was just awful.
Yeah.
And I remember the first day I tried to go to the grocery store. I think it was 2 weeks later, and I had to go into the grocery store because I had no food in the trailer at
Mhm.
all. And somebody just, came up to me and started talking to me, and I froze. I couldn't answer. I couldn't talk. It was just awful. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can just
And
imagine because it's something to go through it once, but go through it a second time and then have a fatality on the second one.
mhm,
It's just devastating, of course,
yeah,
for you, for his family, all the kids too, and I don't know if you have grandkids too,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
at the
we do.
time
We
and
have
that,
three grandchildren.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's rough on everybody. So um, now, the one thing I'll talk a little bit about the book here. The one thing that I see you mentioning in there is that you yourself you also didn't let yourself heal for a long time.
No.
It was almost until and correct me if I'm wrong because I think I read this in the book that it was when you were teaching and you just broke down right in the classroom.
I was walking around outside in the hall. It was lunch hour, and I was on my lunch break, and apparently I was walking in circles in the hall. And one of the other EAs, Nathania, came up to me and said, "What are you doing? Like, do you need help with anything?" And I guess I said no. Or I think I said I was looking for my phone or something. I don't know. anyhow, she took me to the principal's office because she knew there was something wrong,
Yep.
and I collapsed.
Okay.
And that's all I remember. And apparently, it was a panic attack, and it was a pretty bad one.
Okay.
And they had suggested, you need to see a counselor. And I was like, a counselor? Come on. Like, I'll be fine. I've been through so much. I got this. And anyhow, I agreed to my daughter and my sister-in-law Jenny said, Jackie, come on. They were at the hospital with me and said, you need to see a counselor.
Yeah.
So I did. I went to my doctor and she hooked me up with a counselor. And the counselor suggested journaling. And I thought, that's stupid. I'm not going to start writing things down. It's dumb. It's just reliving everything. But I did. First, it was just little drawings, doodles, and then I started writing things down. And then I went to a widow's retreat. I don't talk about this in the book, but I went to a widow's retreat, and they had a journaling session.
Okay.
So I went to it, and they had all these colored markers and stuff. And I'm like, what are the colored markers for? Like, journaling's supposed to be depressing. Like, you're supposed to write down things that are wrong. And they said, no, no, you can write the happy things down. Like, write about when you go for a walk and things like that. Well, it changed my life. And it's the reason the book happened. I started writing the book, and I thought my journal could help other people. So that's why the book is very much like a journal format,
Mhm.
because that's what I thought would help people.
Definitely. And that was one thing I wanted to say about the book was most people, when they've gone through the stuff that you've gone through, um, and they write about it, whether it's going to be for a book or an article, or they're going to do something on TV, something, they write about the trauma itself. They write about what
Hmm.
happened and go through all the stuff of this happened and then we did this and then we did that, which is nothing wrong with that. I think that's awesome too because
Hmm.
people want to hear that stuff. The way you, from what I can see in the half of the book that I've read so far, and I haven't read the other half to see if it changes, but you don't write it in an aspect. You're not sitting there retelling what happened. You kind of say, okay, we went through this, but
Hmm.
then the rest of what I've been reading is more of how you dealt with what you went through. It
Yes.
talks about the grieving process. It talks about the healing process and what you
Hmm.
do, what you can do, and how little things that you do in your life change the aspect of how you lived your life. Because
Yes.
most people would, they're grieving, they just go in a corner or they go in their bed and just don't want to get up for a long time. They do this, do
Hmm.
that. And you might have done some of that to yourself, but you talk about how, like you said, with your journaling, you just, okay, maybe you'll just get up and go walk outside and get that fresh
Hmm.
air in your face. And that was a big thing for you because
Yes.
you were learning yourself that it's more about not, you're afraid of forgetting the people
Hmm.
in the past that these things happened to
Yes.
and this was your way of saying that you're not betraying them, things like that. So
Hmm.
that's what I liked about the book. It was more of a narrative on how you dealt with the tragedies, not what the tragedies were, if that makes sense and if
Exactly.
I'm reading it
Yeah,
correctly.
that's what I wanted. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because I don't want to tell everybody what's in the book because I want them to read it. And
Hmm.
one thing I kind of like at the end of each chapter, you have different areas where like reflecting prompts, and you have
Yes.
three things there that, from what you read in the chapter, these are things that you can do yourself to get yourself in a good mindset. And then you have the gentle practice
Exactly.
of how, again, think some things you can do to get yourself on that road to healing properly without any
Yeah.
guilt and without anything. And then you have your affirmations on, okay, from what I read in this chapter, this is what I learned from it.
Hmm.
And I think the way you've written this book is very well done. Do you want to talk about the book itself a little bit to people other than what I've said about it already?
Yeah, sure. And yeah, those the affirmations and the little, things that I do to help myself. Like one day I went for a walk and there was a tree with a heart on it, and I saw it and I thought, I'm going to write about that. You know what I mean? And just little things like picking up a stone that means something to you and feeling it. It's actually touching something, or looking at the birds in the trees. Like, it all helps you. It helps you realize that life still goes on and
Mhm.
you have to get through it. And my grandchildren, who I talk about in the book, were a huge part of that. I thought, they've lost their grandpa. They can't lose me. You
Hmm.
know, they lost Papa Dan, they lost Papa Rick, and then they lost, you know, Emily, and then Steve. And they've lost so much. And I thought, no, they need to see that I'm strong and they need to see me get through this. They need to see that I can still laugh. And I've let them see me cry.
Yep.
You know, there's times they'll sit and ask me questions and I'll start to cry, you know? And yeah, it's just you have to keep going. You
Yep.
have to move on. And you need little prompts. If you need little prompts to help you, they're all in the book. And you
Yeah.
should, you know, when you're reading it, just it's all things that I actually did
Yes, and I
to
like
help.
though I don't remember which chapter it was, but it talks about how one day after a long time of just not being yourself, I guess you were with family somewhere, and it was either your grandson or somebody said something really funny because your husband was
Yeah,
very funny, had a sense of
yeah,
humor, and
he
he said
did.
something really funny, and you noticed yourself laughing out loud, and
Yes.
then later
Yeah.
on kind of felt guilty about that, thinking,
Mm-hmm.
"Am I betraying him?" And that, and
Yeah,
I like that people can know that no, you're allowed to laugh again. You're supposed to be
you
joyful
are.
again because they don't want you to be down any longer than you have to be. I mean,
Yeah,
you're going to go through, everybody grieves in a different way. And I've always said that.
exactly.
And some people, I'm the type of person when things are not going my way, or like when we had our fire to keep me from breaking,
Mm-hmm.
I have a sense of humor. Like I'm always joking about
Mm-hmm.
somebody will say something and I'll say something to make them laugh
Yeah,
because I feel that's my defense mechanism. Because if I
yeah,
don't want to break, I got to keep the happiness going. So everybody
yes.
grieves in their own way, and I like how you write that in the book that there are times there when you couldn't do that, where you just had to
Mm-hmm.
be sad, and you just had to
Yeah.
be down, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope. And there's still times I can't listen right now to live music.
Okay.
Um, like if it's a concert, yes, but like around a campfire where our friends are sitting with their guitars out, friends who used to play with Steve,
Yeah.
I can't do it yet.
No.
I haven't been able to. And there are times, just because you're healing doesn't mean that you're putting everything behind you and you're forgetting the people that you were grieving. No, you're still going to grieve. You're
Yep.
still going to have days when you cry. There's still going to be days when you don't feel like getting out of bed, but you learn how to. You
Yes.
learn how to do it. And you know, you learn how to remember them in healthy ways.
And that's, I think, the big key point there. You learn to remember them in happy key ways, that remember the good
Exactly.
times, not the bad times.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we all go through that. And I had that happen with a local person here who was a big name for everybody in this area, who worked at the
Mm-hmm.
college here, and he
Mm-hmm.
passed a couple of years ago. Was a really good friend of mine, really
Mm-hmm.
even more of a friend to another good friend of mine who I do video and photography with, and that. And it hit us pretty hard because it was just like you said, you try and remember the good times, not any of the bad
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And no matter what you do, it's a matter of, I've always said, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up again.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
don't have it here, and copyright reasons I wouldn't be able to play it anyways. But there's a thing from one of the Rocky movies where Sylvester Stallone is talking to his son out front of their house at night, and
Mm-hmm.
that's basically the message he's getting by. He goes, "You can blame other people, you can do this about all your faults and why you're not succeeding, but it's not, the world's a hard place and it's going to knock you down, and it's not many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up again and you get right back into the
Exactly.
fight." And you're definitely showing how strong you are by doing that. um and and it's not only just about, like you're saying with Steven, I mean, I'm probably sure a lot of memories that you're still going through with your father, your
Mm-hmm.
father-in-law, your stepdaughter. I mean, there's still some little triggers, I'm sure, that pop
Yes.
in.
There's days I don't know who I'm grieving.
Yes.
So many people have passed away. You
Yeah.
know, I just don't know who I'm grieving. So I just allow myself to be sad for a little bit. And then I'm like, okay, come on, Hank, that's my dog. Let's go out for a walk. And off we go, you know? And if people take one thing away from my book at the end, and I sign this in all the books when I do signings, is you're allowed to break, but you're allowed to rebuild and you're allowed to become someone new.
Yes.
And it's hard. It's very hard, but you're allowed to do it. And
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay to do it.
Yep. Because like I have one, I think I read it a couple times in the first half of the book. You kind of iterate in different ways that you had in your mind growing up, or when you guys were together, when you're in a certain spot in your life, you have a time, this is what it's going to be like, and we're going to be doing this, and we're going to do that. As soon
Hmm.
as something like this happens, your whole life is just turned upside down. And now what was
Exactly.
going to be is not going to anymore. And it's up to you to try to reinvent that now. And it's not
Hmm.
easy to do.
No, exactly. Um, like Steve and I were planning last year to go take our motorcycles and go to the Bay of Fundy.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to see it, and Steve wanted to see it too. But I'm going to do that this year. I'm not going on my motorcycle. I'm taking my mom, and we're going to drive down to the Bay of Fundy.
Good for you.
And I can't wait. And, things like that. And we went back to Mexico in February, and that was hard because that was Steve's half, and he loved Mexico. And it was so funny. And we have these little guitar picks with his picture on them that we
Mm,
gave out at the memorial service.
yep.
And the last time we were in Mexico, if I can tell a little funny
Go
story,
for it.
Steve was not a drinker, and he got soaked. We were in the pool, and they kept serving him pina coladas, and he's like, I don't think there's any booze in these. Then Steve and I both went to get up out of the pool because neither one of us drinks much, and he fell over into a bush.
Oh, geez.
This little guy came over and was trying to help him up. Steve was a big guy. He was 6 feet, 250 pounds. And anyhow, when I went back to Mexico, I put his guitar pick in that bush that he had
That's
fallen in
awesome.
at the resort. So it's there, and
No, I
a
love
little
it.
memory of him.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I love that you have that sense of humor that you can do stuff like that. And because those are the meaningful things, and you remember about that. Same when you go to Bay Fundy, maybe you'll take some pics with you there
Yeah.
and leave them in different there so you can say that he was with you guys, which is really
Yeah.
good. Um, and so more about the book here. Like I said, I've only read half of it. Is it more going to be the same when I read the rest of it of just how you deal with it, or do you talk more
Yes.
about the tragedies themselves a bit?
I talk more. There's a chapter in there dedicated to Emily.
Okay.
Yeah, from her addiction and how I feel. And that talks more about the guilt. Yeah, about Emily. And then there's more about the fire and Steve, of course.
Yeah.
And I talk a little bit about my dad, but yeah,
No, I think so far what I've read, I love it, and it's a kind of book that anybody can read, and not just if it's a
exactly.
female going through a tragedy. Because I think a lot of the
No,
stuff you say in here, it can go with any kind of grief that people are going through.
exactly.
It can be even just the loss of a job. I mean, it sounds
Yeah.
so minute for what you've gone through, but even just something that just somebody gets somebody down and how to pick themselves up. I think there's a lot of good information in here to help with that. It was the same with
Hmm.
our very first guest. We had Carrie D. Brown, who had a heart attack at age 39. She wrote her book, and it was more geared, I guess, to women on what to look for, things like that. But when I
Hmm.
read it, I thought, you know what, this would be great for my wife and my daughters, but I think it's great for husbands and brothers and dads
Hmm.
to read too, because we all have daughters or wives or mothers and that, and you want to know the signs so you can get in there too. So I think your
Exactly.
book is like that. It's not just for women who's lost this or that. You have good information in there that anybody can take for anything that they're going through.
Yeah.
That's why I
And
think
I
it's
don't
very
want
well written.
people to let it go until it becomes, like I went through with the panic attack
Mhm.
and with the public breakdown.
Yeah,
If you can read the book and get some pointers out of it and some help out of it before you get to that point, that's what I'm hoping for. And grief isn't just about, like you said, having someone die. It could be a divorce, it can be losing your home, losing your job, it can be a lot of things. um, Grief isn't just about having someone die, and trauma just doesn't happen from that. It happens, from lots of things happening over time, and then it turns into trauma.
definitely. So if people want to purchase your book, where can they get it from?
So they can get it at burnstownpublishing.com.
Okay.
They can order it from there. It's also at Foodland in Eganville. It's at Sense of Country in Renfrew.
Okay.
But burnstownpublishing.com if you don't live in the areas where you can get it from.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Eganville is in Ontario, Canada here.
Yes.
And a lot of people know it's about an hour and a half west of Ottawa. And
Yes.
So yeah, if you're not from this area, you can't go to that Foodland or something like that. Go to
Hmm.
burnstownpublishing.com, you said,
Yes.
and they can purchase. Again, it's
Yeah.
Ashes,
And they ship
Grace, and the
all
Women I
over.
Became.
Yes.
And then when you and I talked about 3 weeks ago, when you came by my studio here to talk to me about it, you mentioned had a website in the works, and now I understand it's actually up and running.
Yes, it is. I just got it up and running. It's ashesandgrace.ca.
All right.
And I've got a blog on there that I've started, and I'm hoping I'll be able to upload this podcast to it.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll have some speaking. If you want to book me for speaking, if you want to buy the book, there's a link there to buy the book.
Okay.
Yeah, it just talks about the book, talks about me, and every few weeks I'll go on and add something new to it.
Great. I'm looking at it right now over here on my other
Hmm.
screen here, and it looks amazing. I mean, it's got your beautiful picture on there, of course, holding your book. But yeah, you
Thank
can
you.
see on there how they can read the book, how you can just read an excerpt just to see what it's like.
Yeah.
There's a tab there, like you said, to buy the book, and it's got a lot of good information on here. I'm definitely going to go through
Hmm.
it a little bit more. I just found out about it when we went on the air today, so
Yeah.
of course I'll
I
go
just
and
did it
do
on
that.
the weekend.
Good. And I'll have this finished myself probably by the end of the week at least,
Awesome.
fitting it in between clients and things like that. But it's a great read. Um, Before we go, though, do you have any last words you'd like to say to everybody out there before we sign off here?
Um, just that time, people say that time heals, but the truth is that you heal. Time doesn't heal you. You heal yourself. And whatever you can do to help you heal is, a step forward. So do things like reading my book, reading other people's books, going for walks, letting nature heal you. Yeah, doing whatever you need to do to heal yourself. You're worth it. And just remember that.
Definitely. And I think one thing we can end with is the last line here that you put on the back cover of your book, I think summarizes all of it. It is proof that even when life burns to the ground, something fierce and beautiful can still rise.
Yes,
And
you
I think
can
that's
rise.
totally what your book encompasses. So I want to
Thank
thank you
you.
for coming on here, because for a lot of people, they didn't realize probably that this is still fresh with you, because it's only been about a year and a
Yes.
half since the last tragedy there. So
Yeah.
for you to be able to come on here and pour yourself out like that and be vulnerable, I totally respect that.
Thank
And I
you.
appreciate you very much. And I hope a lot of people go out and buy this. From what I understand, this has been going off like hotcakes, if I'm not mistaken. You said
Yes,
you
it
went through the whole
has.
first publishing and you've had to actually get a
Yeah.
second publishing of it.
I've sold over 300 copies so far.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I think it's well worth it.
Thank
And I
you.
hope you sell lots more. I hope you sell at least
Thank
10
you.
times that much. So,
Thank you, John.
for anybody out there, if you want to reach Jackie, reach out to her. You can go to her website. Again, it's ashesandgrace.ca. Check her website out, buy her book. Reach out to her if you want her for a speaking engagement. She'd be welcome or willing to do that for sure. Until next time, remember, butlersbabble.com. You can check out all of our past episodes, including this one again. And until next time, I hope everybody has empowering, motivating, and inspired week. And remember, if anybody asks, say the butler did it.